Hey everyone, I was a little all over the place at the end of that last video. So what I did, and I'm going to post this document separately so you can click on the links. So I just made a Google document of some websites I found that'll help you find schools and also find some information about how to pay for them. So I'm just going to go through these and I'll try to keep this video short because it was meant to be the end of the last video. So I'm not going to click on all these, but one link that's very often used. I think it's more popular among old people like me, but it's U.S. News and World Report college rankings. And they have a section in there that's best value colleges, and they sort of define value by sort of calculating the prestige or selectivity of the college and weighing that against affordability of the college. So it's not necessarily the cheapest colleges, but it's the colleges they think are giving the most overall value. I put in a note here that is helpful to know. Sometimes when we talk about colleges, when we talk about small liberal arts colleges versus big schools, a lot of students don't know what that's all about. So the idea of a liberal arts college is just that these tend to be smaller colleges. They tend to not have graduate schools, but they tend to be smaller class size focused, very teaching focused. And so it's helpful to understand the difference between a liberal arts college and a university. Liberal arts college doesn't mean that you have to go and study poetry, but they do have more of their majors are more in the liberal arts and social sciences than in the STEM fields or pre-professional fields. So it's helpful to know that if you're not as familiar with liberal arts college. Liberal arts college also doesn't necessarily mean that they're not really highly thought of schools. There are some of the top ranked schools in the country are schools you've probably never heard of because they're small liberal arts colleges. National universities are universities that have graduate schools. They're bigger and they have a full array of majors. When I say national university, that doesn't mean that University of Illinois is not a national university. So you can have a state school that's still a national university. So what national university really means is it's a school that draws applicants from all over the country. So even a state school might do that. So University of Wisconsin, University of Illinois, University of Michigan, they draw applicants from all over the country. So that's what national university means. On that website, they also have lists of regional universities and regional liberal arts colleges. And what that means is those are places that are slightly less well known and so tend to draw from a smaller radius, but they sort of stand out. And that is often helpful if you sort of know, hey, I know I want to be in the Midwest for the rest of my life. Well, a regional Midwestern university might be great because even though it's maybe not well known in New England, it doesn't matter because you can be looking for a job in the Midwest, et cetera. It might be more well known here. So just helpful. You probably have heard of Niche. It's newer. And by newer, it's still 25 some odd years old, but the kids like it a little more than the U.S. News and World Report, but they have similar lists. You'll notice that their lists are not identical, so that's why I like having multiple resources. This is a link to what's called a scholarship aggregator. So a scholarship aggregator is just literally a website that goes out and looks for all the scholarships that are being offered by organizations around the country. And a lot of them, what you'll do is you go in, you put in your information, your demographic information, your age, where you live, right? Do you have asthma? Are you left-handed? All that stuff. And then it sort of searches the internet for scholarships that might be a fit for you. So it's a good thing to poke around on stuff like that. And then I haven't tested that one. It's just one I found, but you can Google scholarship aggregator and play with a few of them and see if you can find some scholarships that might work for you. And then what I would suggest you do, right, is you develop basically what I would make is a Google sheet or a spreadsheet of like, what's the scholarship? How much is it? What's the deadline? What are the materials I need for it, et cetera? And then you could start to plan how you can develop a time to actually apply to some of this stuff. This scholarship is, this website was one that I found that was just sort of interesting to me. I just sort of stumbled into it. But the website is Midsize Affordable Colleges for the Very Undecided Student. And the author of the list basically describes this as coming up with schools that are relatively affordable, A, B, midsize or smaller, so that you've got a blend. For midsize, you have a blend of resources and individual attention. And the idea was that the more undecided you are, the more individual attention you need, because you need some guidance to help you find your way in terms of what you want to do. Yeah. Oh, the other part of it that I was going to say is that I don't know how I like this methodology, but the idea was that if you're radically undecided and you have no idea whether you want to go to law enforcement or veterinarianism or poetry, then these are good because they have that wide an array of majors. I actually think most people aren't quite that undecided, so this list might not be all that useful for you. I think most of you who are radically undecided are a little less undecided. We'll talk about that more. We'll talk about that more individually, but you might want to check out that list. Finally, this is the thing I was trying to show you in the last video. I'm going to just go back to it real quick. This net price calculator is really a government tool. The Department of Ed developed this a few years back. What's kind of cool about this is that, let's go to Amherst College, which is a very elite liberal arts college. What this really does is it takes you to the net price calculator that the school itself offers. And what it does is it basically gets you to go through both your academic information. Oh, this is going to make me go through the College Board, so I'm not doing that. You enter your academic information and your financial information, and then that gives you a sense of what they would offer you. So it's helpful to do that because what you saw me doing in the previous video, is that if you type in that price calculator for DePaul and you have a high enough GPA and SAT and you have a low enough family income, then you're going to see this price 62,000 drop well below 30,000, and so it can become much more affordable. But these are not promises or guarantees. These are estimates, and they may or may not actually apply to transfer students. So it's just a way to get started. So you sort of think often what students do is they start by looking for schools they can afford, and then they try to think about which schools they prefer. You might try to do a little of that backwards, which is like think about the types of schools that you find are interesting to you that you want to go to, and then play around with things like the net price calculator and see if it looks like they're going to be within reach financially, because you don't necessarily know what schools are financially affordable until you start doing these net price calculator calculations. All right, I hope that helps. I want to make sure I gave you these videos since we haven't had a chance to talk about this stuff a lot, but we can sort of follow up on this discussion individually or as a class. All right, see you soon.